Music, there is a moment when someone walks away. They ignore you, they overlook you, they forget you brought to the table. In that moment, something happens. You are left behind. But you are not broken. You are not lost. You are given space. You are given silence. You are given the rarest gift of all, a blank slate. The Stoics saw this space not as abandonment, but as an opportunity. They trained themselves to interpret pain as feedback. They used solitude as a signal to look inward. They believed that everything outside of your control is a test and everything within it is a tool. What someone took from you is less important than what you choose to build. Now, this video is a map 12 ways to rise. Each chapter reflects a Stoic insight that has been tested across centuries. You won't find comfort here. You will find clarity. You won't be told to wait. You will be shown how to act. These are not abstract lessons. They are disciplines to apply every day. The best version of yourself is not a fantasy. It is a set of decisions practiced repeatedly. Let us begin. Chapter 1. Start with the stillness. The world moves fast. It pulls attention in every direction. Urgency becomes the norm. People act quickly, speak quickly, decide quickly. The result is confusion. Focus is lost. Actions become reactive. The Stoic begins differently. The Stoic slows down. They pause before they move. They create stillness before they respond. This is a deliberate habit. It is trained through repetition. Stillness is not about inactivity. It is about presence. It is a clear state of mind free from detraction. It allows you to observe without rushing to judge. It allows you to act from principle, not emotion. When you are still, you notice the pace of your thoughts. You notice the way your emotions rise. You begin to see your impulses clearly. In that space, you begin to guide them. The mind without stillness becomes automatic. It repeats patterns without examination. It moves toward comfort without awareness. It fills silence with noise. The Stoic creates a pause between experience and response. In that pause, choice becomes available. Without that pause, you repeat old habits. With it, you become intentional. Stillness can be trained through daily practice. Begin each morning with a short period of quiet. No phone, no stimulation. Sit upright. Breathe with awareness. Allow thoughts to come and go without attaching to them. Observe without judgment. This small act begins the training of your attention. It creates space before the day fills with demand. Use this time to reflect. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What emotion keeps surfacing? Where am I rushing without purpose? What is clouding my thinking? These questions do not require immediate answers. They are tools to reveal what lies beneath distraction. They help you see what you have ignored. Stillness is not reserved for ideal moments. It is used especially in difficult ones. When you feel agitated, pause. When you feel insulted, pause. When you feel overwhelmed, pause. This pause gives your higher judgment time to surface. It interrupts the cycle of reflex. It creates room for reason. The benefits of stillness build over time. It begins as a few quiet moments. It becomes a more grounded presence throughout the day. It affects how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you respond under pressure. It influences how you process setbacks. Stillness turns reaction into reflection. Stillness also helps clarify direction. When you slow the mind, your priorities begin to take shape. You begin to notice what matters and what does not. You see which tasks deserve energy and which can be left behind. Without this clarity, your actions become scattered. With stillness, they become organized. This practice is not a luxury. It is a foundation. It can be applied anywhere. Before a meeting, after a setback, during a walk. It becomes a discipline of presence. In that presence, you begin to understand yourself better. You recognize the patterns that hold you back. You find the space to begin adjusting them. Stillness is the beginning of mastery. It is how the Stoic creates a stable inner ground. From that ground, they can face difficulty with a clear posture. They can act without confusion. They can choose their response instead of being dragged by emotion. Stillness is where clarity grows. It is where strength is anchored. This is how the best version of you begins to take shape quietly, internally, repeatedly. Stillness is the first step toward becoming a person who sees clearly, acts deliberately, and remains steady through uncertainty. It is where the work begins. Chapter 2. Own what is yours. The Stoic does not attempt to control what belongs to others or what unfolds outside their influence. They train their focus on what belongs to them. This includes their judgments, their behavior, and the thoughts they permit to shape their perception. They hold themselves to account for the posture they bring to each experience. Emotions, reactions, and attitudes are not random. They can be examined. They can be refined. What begins as an instinct becomes a choice through repetition. No person is immune to difficulty. The difference lies in the response. When someone walks away when trust is broken, when recognition is withheld, there is a strong pull to dwell in blame. But the Stoic does not remain there. They return to what can be worked on. They ask what is still within their reach. They choose effort over resentment. They understand that power begins with personal responsibility. Responsibility is not assigned. It is accepted. When you take ownership, you shift the center of control back to yourself. You stop waiting for conditions to improve before you act. You stop waiting for someone else to apologize before you let go of resentment. This does not depend on fairness. It depends on the decision to lead yourself forward without delay. The mind resists this process. It seeks escape. It tells stories about what should have happened. It looks for someone to blame. This habit is subtle and frequent. The Stoic trains their attention to catch it early. They observe when the mind drifts toward excuses. They bring it back to what can be done now. This is not repression. It is clarity. When you stop outsourcing your energy to what others did, you regain momentum. Each moment offers a chance to reinforce this discipline. It begins with simple questions. What is mine to handle here? What am I doing to contribute to this dynamic? What am I avoiding by focusing on someone else's flaws? These questions break the cycle of distraction. They redirect energy toward internal order. When you commit to them consistently, they reshape your habits. Taking ownership also sharpens perception. You begin to see situations with less distortion. You notice where your reactions create extra conflict. You notice where expectations prevent understanding. You notice the gap between your stated values and your repeated actions. This awareness creates tension, but it is a productive tension. It moves you toward alignment. In practical terms, this discipline can be applied in all areas of life. When communication breaks down, check your tone and timing. When goals stall, examine your routine and consistency. When motivation drops, revisit your structure. These adjustments are not always easy. They are often uncomfortable, but they are always available. This approach is not about self-blame. It is about choosing agency over avoidance. It is about forming a habit of returning to your side of the equation. When you do this often, it becomes a reflex. You stop waiting for ideal conditions. You begin to create stability through your choices. When the world becomes chaotic, ownership becomes your anchor. It keeps your attention grounded in what can be shaped. It helps you maintain direction when plans fall apart. It gives you a way forward when external support is missing. This is the source of real strength. It is not based on dominance. It is based on inner structure. Strength formed this way is steady. It does not fluctuate with praise or criticism. It is not dependent on being treated fairly. It is built through consistent practice. You own your attitude. You own your response. This is how the Stoic rises. Each time you face difficulty, return to this foundation. What can I improve here? What principle can I apply? What part of this situation reflects a decision I can make better? These are small questions, but they lead to large changes. Owning your role does not promise ease. It builds readiness. It prepares you to handle failure without collapse. It allows you to lead yourself through confusion with more clarity. It ensures that no matter who walks away, you are still standing on your own ground. This is the posture of someone who is becoming their best self. Calm, clear, accountable. That process begins with owning what is yours without excuse, without delay, with full presence. Chapter 3. Remove what is unnecessary. Progress is often misunderstood as accumulation. People seek to improve by adding more. More tasks, more commitments, more tools, more information. But improvement can begin by removing what no longer serves. The Stoics recognized this truth. They understood that too much leads to confusion. The mind becomes crowded. Focus weakens. Attention fragments. Growth slows under the weight of excess. Clutter exists in many forms. Physical clutter can agitate the senses and reduce clarity. Mental clutter causes distraction, worry, and indecision. Emotional clutter keeps people tied to outcomes, reactions, and old narratives. These forms of clutter are connected. They drain energy. They interfere with judgment. They make it difficult to see the path forward to rise. The first step is to create space. Simplification creates the conditions for clarity. It narrows the field of attention. It reduces interference. Simplicity is not about having nothing. It is about keeping only what is aligned with your direction. When you let go of the unnecessary, what matters begins to take shape. Start with your physical environment. A disordered space produces mental noise. Clear your surroundings. Remove items that no longer serve a clear purpose. Keep only what supports your work, your rest, or your focus. Do this without delay. Each object you remove gives energy back to your attention. Then examine your schedule. Time is limited. The quality of your actions depends on what you give time to. Review how your days are filled. Eliminate what does not support your goals or align with your values. Identify distractions disguised as obligations. Clear time blocks for quiet reflection and focused work. Time gained from removal is more valuable than time filled with busyness. Next, turn to your thoughts. Review what occupies your internal dialogue. Identify beliefs that no longer serve your current direction. Notice where your thinking returns to resentment, anxiety, or fantasies. These loops consume attention without benefit. Replace them with principles. Center your thoughts on what can be done now, what you can improve, and how to practice virtue in action. Unnecessary opinions also create confusion. People carry the weight of trying to be understood by everyone. They react to every judgment. The Stoic lets go of this burden. They value feedback that is useful, but they do not seek approval from those who do not share their values. Removing the need for external validation clears space for inner stability. Attachments also need examination. When you tie your peace to specific outcomes, you give control to things you cannot command. Letting go of those attachments does not mean apathy. It means freedom from pressure. It means doing your part fully, then releasing what is outside your hands. This shift creates more focus and less strain. Ask yourself regularly, what do I no longer need to carry? What distracts more than it contributes? What obligation exists only by habit, not by purpose? These questions lead to clarity. They help you return to what matters. They reduce the effort spent managing things that do not lead to strength or stability. This practice of removal must be ongoing. Life adds complexity constantly. It is your job to subtract. It is your job to return to the core. This requires awareness and repetition. It requires honest evaluation. Each time you remove something misaligned, you create room for discipline, energy, and calm to grow. The best version of you is not hidden under failure. It is hidden under excess, under habits that no longer reflect who you are becoming, under layers of distraction that weaken your presence. Clearing the surface is not about loss. It is about exposure. It reveals what was always available, but buried. This principle can be applied daily. Before you add a new task, remove an old one. Before you commit to something new, check if it aligns with your deeper goals. Before you chase the next improvement, examine what is already slowing you down. Create by subtracting. Improve by removing. Refine by letting go. Each act of removal strengthens your posture. It allows you to meet the day with more direction. It clears emotional weight from the mind. It sharpens your attention. This is how the Stoic becomes efficient, present, and steady. Simplify. Then observe what rises in that space. That is where the best version of you begins to appear, with fewer distractions, stronger focus, and more clarity in every step. Turn loss into discipline. Loss happens. People change. Situations shift. Plans break. What was stable becomes uncertain. The Stoics did not ignore this reality. They prepared for it. They trained their minds to respond with structure. Pain is real, but it does not dictate the response. Discipline gives pain direction. Loss removes what is familiar. It takes away routines, relationships, or roles. This creates a void. The Stoic fills that space with action. They do not rush to replace what was lost. They begin by restoring order. They build a new rhythm. They put their focus on what still remains within reach. Discipline is more than control over impulses. It is the care you show to your own development. It is shown in how you arrange your time, how you protect your energy, and how you hold yourself to your chosen values. It does not emerge automatically. It is formed through practice, especially under pressure. Loss presents that pressure. It reveals what your habits depend on. When support is removed, your structure is tested. If there is no structure, emotion takes over. The Stoic avoids this outcome through steady routines and deliberate behavior. They do not wait for motivation. They rely on trained discipline to carry them forward. When you face loss, begin with what you can control immediately. Get up at the same time. Maintain or create routines for movement, reflection, and work. Reset your environment. Reduce excess. Keep your spaces clean and functional. These small physical actions rebuild your posture and preserve mental stability. The mind naturally turns to the past. It replays what was said. It re-examines what was done. It looks for patterns, reasons, and outcomes that no longer exist. These thoughts can arise without warning and often feel urgent. They create loops that seem productive but rarely lead to resolution. The Stoic accepts that these thoughts will appear. They do not attempt to suppress them completely. They let them rise, but they do not follow them. Reflection is useful when it leads to understanding. When it becomes rumination, it drains time and energy. This is the turning point where the Stoic redirects focus. Thought without action creates emotional noise. Action brings the mind back to clarity. The best way to quiet the pull of memory is through deliberate motion in the present. The more you act with discipline, the less you are pulled into regret. Each day presents an opportunity to reinforce your new direction. The morning is your first step. Set a clear structure. Begin with actions that do not depend on mood. Prepare your space. Organize your tasks. Check in with your priorities. Do these things regardless of how you feel over time. This teaches the body and mind that movement continues despite difficulty. Small efforts may feel insignificant. Their value is not in immediate reward. It is in repetition. A routine once formed creates consistency. That consistency becomes a source of strength. When life feels unstable, your habits give shape to the day. They prevent drifting. They give you something to return to even when you feel disconnected. Discipline also allows emotion to be processed without becoming overwhelming. It gives the mind something steady to hold on to while grief unfolds. Without that structure, emotion can take over the full space of your day. With it, emotion has a container. You can feel it without losing your posture. This balance is not automatic. It is created through repeated action. There will be days when effort feels forced. On those days, you return to the essentials. Make your bed, prepare your meals, do your physical training, write your thoughts down clearly and briefly. These are not empty gestures. They restore a sense of control. They remind you that you can still guide your behavior even when your feelings are heavy. This practice builds slowly. There is no set pace. Discipline is not a single solution. It is a steady return to your principles. It is the decision to even when you are uncertain. Each choice made in alignment with your values adds to your stability. Each time you follow through, you strengthen the part of yourself that is ready for difficulty. Pain remains part of the experience, but it becomes clearer and less confusing. The more you act with discipline, the more your identity becomes tied to your values and not to the events that hurt you. You stop asking what was lost, and you begin to shape what will take its place. As this process continues, your view of the loss shifts. It becomes a starting point instead of a stopping point. You begin to ask new questions. What have I learned from this? What have I gained in awareness, in strength, in structure? These are not pleasant questions, but they are useful. They turn pain into material. They turn damage into direction. Every moment of reflection becomes a chance to reset. Every routine becomes a structure that supports your return. You do not need to rush recovery. You do need to keep moving. The more consistent you are, the more solid your foundation becomes. This is not about avoiding grief. It is about giving it shape so it does not define you. Let the pain remind you to stay disciplined. Let it show you where your structure broke down. Let it guide you to build something stronger. Turn each moment of hurt into a cue to act. Use it to train your response. Use it to clarify your next step. When you build from discipline, you create a new version of yourself, one that does not deny what happened, but is shaped by how you chose to respond. That version is steadier. That version is clearer. That version is capable of carrying the weight that once felt impossible. Begin with structure. Maintain it with action. Let the lessons shape your habits. Let the repetition become strength. Keep walking. You are building something that will last. You are becoming someone who endures. Chapter 5. Speak less, mean more. Words have influence. Once spoken, they shape how others see you and how you direct your own thinking. The Stoic treats language as a tool. It is used with restraint, not to fill space. Speech becomes part of character. Each word either strengthens or weakens your posture. Clarity begins with choosing when to speak and how. Most people speak quickly and often. They explain, justify, exaggerate, or complain without thinking. The Stoic trains against this. They avoid unnecessary commentary. They resist the urge to respond to every opinion. They stay silent when silence holds more value than reaction. Their speech is measured not by volume but by impact. This habit begins with awareness. Before you speak, ask yourself whether your words are aligned with reason. Ask what outcome your words are designed to create. Ask whether the conversation needs your input. Restraint is not about avoidance. It is about selecting the time and tone that supports your values. When you speak less, you give yourself more space to think. You allow the words of others to settle before responding. You listen without preparing your reply. This allows for better understanding. It also reduces miscommunication. When you are quiet, you have more control over the rhythm and direction of an exchange. Avoid speaking to release emotional pressure. Anger, irritation, and anxiety often seek release through words. That release usually adds confusion, not clarity. Wait, breathe. Let the emotion settle before responding. Speaking in anger weakens trust. Speaking in clarity builds it. Others learn to trust your words when they see you do not waste them. Speech reflects inner order. If your thoughts are scattered, your words will be vague or impulsive. If your mind is settled, your words will be clean and focused. Take time to shape your thinking before you express it. Train this by writing. Train this by pausing before you speak. Even 2 seconds of delay can change what you say and how it lands. There is no need to explain yourself constantly. The Stoic acts with consistency. Over time, consistency speaks louder than defense. People begin to understand who you are by how you show up. They see what you stand for by what you tolerate, what you pursue, and what you ignore. Let your actions explain your values. Excessive explanation can become a mask for insecurity. When you trust your decisions, you do not chase approval. When you live by your principles, you speak without seeking permission. A clear sentence spoken without apology says more than a long paragraph full of justification. Speak once and let the silence follow. In conversation, leave room for silence. Do not rush to fill gaps. Let others think. Let yourself listen. Respond only when it adds clarity or guidance. If something does not need to be said, let it remain unsaid. Silence is not awkwardness. It shows patience. It reinforces your ability to wait without tension. Training your speech requires consistent reflection. Observe how often you speak to fill silence. Notice when you offer input without being asked. Monitor how quickly you respond when you feel misunderstood. These small moments reveal where your discipline can improve. Over time, the ability to pause before speaking becomes more natural. You learn to direct your energy into understanding before expression. Speech guided by restraint becomes more accurate. You say only what is necessary. You avoid dramatizing. You avoid overstating. You reduce misinterpretation. People come to see your words as intentional. They come to trust that when you speak, there is substance behind your message. Set personal boundaries around how, and when you speak. Limit your reactions to provocation. Do not enter debates that have no purpose. Do not correct others to appear superior. Speak when there is something useful to contribute. Hold your words when they would only serve ego or impulse. Make your voice reflect your standards. If your values include calm, clarity, and respect, let your speech uphold those values. If you claim to be disciplined, let your speech confirm it. There is no need to broadcast your principles. Let your tone, choice of words, and restraint prove them. The fewer words you need, the more powerful your presence becomes. When you strip your speech of excess, each sentence holds more meaning. Others begin to pay attention when you speak. They recognize the rarity of unnecessary noise. They recognize the discipline behind the silence. Silence can also be a sign of confidence. When you are secure in your position, you do not need to overstate it. You do not need to interrupt. You do not need to explain away discomfort. A calm presence allows room for others to speak without feeling the need to dominate. That space creates better dialogue. It fosters trust in relationships, in work, and in leadership. The ability to listen fully and respond briefly becomes a sign of maturity. It helps avoid arguments. It prevents escalation. It gives others the sense that you are present, not just reactive. This kind of communication is not easy, but it is trainable. You can practice this restraint in everyday settings. During conversation, pause before replying. In meetings, speak last if possible. In conflict, wait until emotions settle before offering your view. In reflection, write down what you would say, then revise it to half the length. Do this often enough, and you will start thinking more clearly before you speak. Discipline in speech reinforces discipline in thought. As your language sharpens, your thinking becomes more structured. This affects all areas of life. You make better decisions. You reduce miscommunication. You avoid unnecessary friction. You stay grounded under pressure. Every sentence is a choice. Every silence is a statement. You are either moving toward greater clarity or away from it. Let your words serve as tools for direction. Let your restraint sharpen your influence. Let your presence be felt through both speech and silence. This is the habit the Stoic builds, one of thoughtful speech and deliberate quiet. It becomes part of their character. It becomes part of their strength. It becomes part of their legacy. Chapter 6. Guard your attention. What you focus on becomes the framework of your mind. The Stoics understood that attention is the first resource you must protect. Every thought, every impression, every input either shapes or distorts your perception. You cannot allow your attention to be pulled in every direction. You must decide where it goes, and you must defend it with discipline. Modern life offers constant noise. Devices, conversations, headlines, and distractions all compete for your mind. The more you let in, the less control you have. The Stoic trains to narrow the lens. They keep their attention on what can be done, what can be learned, and what reflects principle. Everything else is filtered out. To protect your attention, you must build habits that support focus. Start with your environment. Reduce visual noise. Remove sources of unnecessary information. Structure your day around blocks of concentrated effort. Do not begin the morning by consuming updates or opinions. Begin it with intention. This practice builds a mental shield. Attention is drained most by reactive thinking. When you let others set your mental direction, you lose alignment with your priorities. The Stoic practices internal authorship. They decide what is worth thinking about. They redirect when distraction appears. They stay with one task at a time. This is not about perfection. It is about choosing the direction of thought. You can train this by setting clear limits. Limit how often you check for messages. Limit how many voices you listen to. Limit how many decisions you make without pause. Track what pulls you away from focused effort. Adjust your routine to close those gaps. Over time, attention becomes sharper. The Stoic does not try to keep up with everything. They focus on a few clear aims. They give full attention to what they are doing now. When they speak with someone, they are fully present. When they read deeply. When they train without distraction. These habits accumulate. They create a centered mind. A disciplined mind is not just more productive. It is more peaceful. It is not flooded by impulse. It is not moved constantly by emotion or novelty. It holds its shape under stress. It stays connected to its purpose. This is how attention becomes a tool for growth. The modern world will not make this easy. It will reward urgency, stimulation, and instant reaction. But the Stoic builds a slower, stronger way. They measure their inputs. They clear space. They value stillness and depth over speed and variety. This shift takes effort, but it gives back energy. It gives back time. It gives back clarity. Guarding your attention is the next step toward rising. It allows you to direct your effort with more precision. It keeps your mind available for reflection and for action. It helps you resist the pull of noise and stay close to your purpose. It is a discipline you apply every day. This is how you train your mind to stay centered, focused, and clear. This is how you protect your path forward. Chapter 7. Strengthen your posture. Your posture is more than how you stand. It is how you carry yourself through every situation. It reflects your mindset, your discipline, and your readiness. The Stoic pays attention to posture because it is a visible sign of internal order. A person who slouches through the day moves without intention. A person who stands upright reinforces self-respect. Posture is physical, but it is also mental. It is how you respond to pressure, setbacks, and the unexpected. The Stoic prepares to remain steady under stress. They train to hold their ground when faced with adversity. This is not about appearing strong. It is about being stable enough to act with reason when emotion rises. You can begin this training by observing your physical habits. When walking, walk deliberately. When sitting, sit upright. When speaking, keep your tone firm and steady. These small adjustments begin to shape your identity. Over time, they influence how you think. A strong posture leads to stronger decisions. Mental posture is reinforced through repetition. When something difficult happens, pay attention to your first reaction. Are you collapsing into complaint or standing in principle? Do you seek immediate relief or take a moment to reflect? Each of these moments builds or weakens your posture. The more often you respond with clarity, the more solid you become. This strength is not aggression. It is composure. It is the ability to face insult without retreat, delay without despair, and failure without loss of direction. The Stoic sees each challenge as another chance to hold their posture. They do not rely on others to hold them up. They build that strength within. A strong posture invites responsibility. Others begin to look to you when pressure rises. They recognize stability. They trust your presence. This kind of influence does not come from authority. It comes from consistency. People follow those who remain calm when others panic. You can develop this strength through daily testing. Do hard things without complaint. Stay quiet when provoked. Follow through on small tasks. Speak directly when something must be said. Show up early. Prepare carefully. These habits form the spine of your character. Your posture is your first message to the world. It tells people whether you are steady or scattered. It tells you whether you are focused or reactive. The Stoic watches their posture closely. They treat it as a signal. When it weakens, they correct it. When it holds, they reinforce it. To rise after loss or rejection, posture is essential. It keeps you upright when emotion would pull you down. It gives you structure when circumstances feel unstable. This is how you begin again, with your feet planted, your breath calm, and your focus sharpened. Strengthen your posture every day. Let it carry you when doubt appears. Let it remind you who you are. Let it reflect your choice to remain disciplined even when it would be easier to collapse. Posture is the quiet presence of someone who has trained their mind to lead. Chapter 8. Master your environment. Your environment affects your thinking, your mood, and your performance. The Stoic studies it with care. They do not seek to escape the world. They seek to shape their place in it. They control what they allow in and what they choose to remove. Discipline in the mind begins with discipline in the environment. The first environment is your space. What you see each day affects how you think. Disorder leads to distraction. Clutter leads to mental noise. Begin by clearing your surroundings. Keep only what serves function or principle. Arrange your space to reflect your values. Simplicity supports clarity. Then consider your schedule. A disorganized calendar produces scattered energy. Choose clear time blocks for deep work, rest, movement, and reflection. Honor your time the same way you would honor a commitment to someone else. Make your hours match your direction. This kind of structure protects your focus. People are part of your environment. Pay close attention to who surrounds you. Do they reinforce your values or pull you away from them? Are they committed to growth or dependent on distraction? The Stoic does not isolate, but they are selective. They limit exposure to influences that degrade judgment. You also shape your digital environment. What you read, watch, and scroll becomes input. What you follow shapes what you think about. Curate this space as you would your physical one. Remove sources of noise. Limit voices that promote fear, envy, or outrage. Choose sources that promote reason, clarity, and growth. A strong environment supports discipline. It reduces temptation. It protects momentum. It gives your habits a stable place to grow. Without this foundation, even the strongest intentions can fall apart. With it, your principles have room to take root. The Stoic does not wait for the perfect conditions. They prepare the best conditions within reach. They organize their space. They filter their input. They build order into their routine. In doing this, they reduce friction and create reliability. You do not need to control every external factor. You need to manage the space where your choices are made. The clearer and calmer that space becomes, the more consistent your actions will be. Mastering your environment does not require wealth or resources. It requires awareness and discipline. Begin today. Clean your workspace. Adjust your calendar. Reevaluate who and what takes your attention. These small changes lead to greater stability. Over time, they produce a life aligned with your values, shaped by your effort, and protected from unnecessary chaos. This is how the Stoic builds a strong position in the world through clarity, order, and intention in everything they surround themselves with. Chapter 9. Act without delay. Action moves potential into progress. The Stoic does not wait for motivation. They train themselves to act when action is required. Delay wastes time, clouds intention, and weakens discipline. When something must be done, it should be done with clarity and without hesitation. Hesitation feeds doubt. The longer you wait, the more space you create for uncertainty. Overthinking invites fear. The Stoic learns to shorten the gap between recognition and response. They do not act carelessly. They act decisively. They make the best choice available based on principle, then follow through. You can develop this discipline through practice. Begin with small decisions. When it is time to start the day, get up without negotiation. When a task is scheduled, begin it when the time arrives. When something needs to be said, speak without circling around it. Each time you move forward without delay, you strengthen your ability to act under pressure. There will always be reasons to wait. The mind produces endless justifications. It tells you to rest longer. It tells you to wait for the perfect time. It focuses on obstacles, exaggerates uncertainty, and shifts attention to easier tasks. These patterns repeat unless interrupted. They do not disappear on their own. The Stoic recognizes these impulses as distractions, not commands. They are signals to act, not signals to pause. Training delay begins with awareness. You must catch the moment hesitation begins. That moment is brief and often unnoticed. It is the instant between recognition and response. With repetition, you can shorten that space. You begin to act before the mind builds unnecessary resistance. This does not require rushing. It requires direction. It means applying your effort where it is needed without waiting for comfort or perfect clarity. Start building this habit with simple, repeatable actions. Get out of bed as soon as the alarm sounds. Begin your work session at the scheduled time without negotiating. Finish what you start without drifting toward distraction. These are not dramatic tasks. They are small disciplines that condition the mind to follow through. Each one reinforces your trust in your own consistency. The Stoic acts from commitment. They rely on structure, not mood. This applies across all conditions. They do not postpone training when tired. They do not skip responsibility during setbacks. They do not delay communication when something must be said. These are not emotional decisions. They are directed by principle. Each time you follow through when it is difficult, you strengthen that internal command. Every action moves you in a direction toward discipline or toward avoidance. There is no neutral ground. When you pause unnecessarily, you reinforce passivity. When you act with intention, you reinforce direction. The difference becomes more noticeable over time. Patterns begin to form. Habits become visible. You either train reliability or reinforce hesitation. Urgency in Stoic practice is not recklessness. It is readiness. It means staying alert to what must be done now and doing it without delay. It does not require intensity. It requires consistency. You keep a steady pace. You reduce waste. You do not overcomplicate decisions. You stay close to the essential action and execute it fully. You can train urgency through systems. Use timers. Schedule tightly. Avoid multitasking. Begin and finish with clear boundaries. Limit how long you allow yourself to decide. Practice committing once and following through without debate. These techniques reduce hesitation and turn decision into movement. Momentum builds through repetition. Each task completed without delay adds strength to your focus. Each decision made at the right time builds confidence. Over time, your concern shifts. You think less about outcomes and more about process. You measure progress by how consistently you act, not how often things go your way. Discipline applied through action transforms what you believe into what you do. It gives your values form. Without motion, principles remain in theory. With motion, they become character. The Stoic closes the gap between belief and behavior through action. They move forward whether anyone watches or not. Acting without delay clears emotional noise. It prevents overanalysis. It protects you from paralysis. Excuses lose their power when action begins early. You move before doubt has time to spread. You gain ground while others are still questioning. This habit separates those who drift from those who rise. Make this a rule. When something needs doing, begin. Do not negotiate with yourself. Do not search for the ideal condition. Do not stall under the weight of options. Prepare your tools. Start the task, move into it without ceremony. Let action be your instinct, not your exception. The longer you pause, the harder it becomes to start. The shorter the delay, the sharper your discipline becomes. Train your mind to associate urgency with clarity. As soon as something reaches your awareness and falls within your responsibility, begin. Take the first step, then the next. Set a standard where hesitation signals disorder. Use it as an alert. If you find yourself stalling, correct your direction by doing one small useful task. Let that become the restart point. Anchor your day in a visible plan. Use a calendar that reflects your direction. Make each hour reflect a clear commitment. When you see a scheduled task, treat it as final. Begin it at the time you set without bargaining. This removes the friction of indecision. You are not chasing motivation. You are following a chosen order. Your presence should reflect steadiness. This is seen in how you begin, how you follow through, and how you adjust without excuse. Show others that you can be counted on to act when something is required. You do not wait for others to move first. You do not avoid effort when it becomes inconvenient. You carry your role with attention and with speed. Let others know your reliability through what you consistently do. Let your words be few and your actions clear. Do not advertise your plans. Demonstrate them. Let progress replace promises. Let preparation lead your movement. Let discipline show through repetition. When others hesitate, begin. When others stall, continue. When others avoid difficulty, step toward it. These decisions do not need to be dramatic. They need to be repeated. That is how an identity forms. The identity of someone who shows up, follows through, and finishes. This is the discipline that transfers internal structure into visible results. It turns motion into mastery. It replaces distraction with execution. Each completed act sharpens your edge. Each fulfilled task increases your trust in yourself. This is how the Stoic grows stronger through consistent, direct, and disciplined movement. This is how you rise quietly, clearly, repeatedly. You begin when others talk. You persist when others slow down. You complete what is yours to complete. The results will follow, but they are not the goal. The standard is the goal. The pattern is the strength. One act at a time, without delay, without doubt, with full presence. Chapter 10. Return to your role. The Stoic does not ask for guarantees. They return to their role. They focus on what is assigned to them, not on what is uncertain. Life will bring changes, failures, and disruptions. The role remains. It may evolve, but it does not disappear. To rise, you must commit to fulfilling your role regardless of how others behave or how events unfold. Your role is defined by your principles. It is formed by what you stand for and what you take responsibility for. Whether you lead, follow, support, or protect, there is always a posture to maintain. This is not about titles. It is about clarity. Knowing your role allows you to act with direction. Many people drift because they are unclear about what their role requires. They wait for recognition before showing initiative. They look for approval before committing to effort. The Stoic removes these conditions. They act in alignment with principle, not in reaction to validation. To return to your role, begin by identifying your responsibilities. What is yours to carry? What can only you do well? What do others count on you for? Make this list. Then reinforce it with action. Do what your role demands even when no one watches. Especially then. That is how you build strength. There will be moments when the role feels too heavy, when progress feels unnoticed, when your efforts are ignored. These are not signals to stop. They are signals to sharpen your focus. You return to the role not for reward but for order. It becomes the anchor that holds you steady when everything else shifts. Your role also includes how you handle setbacks. A Stoic does not abandon effort after a loss. They remain present. They adjust their actions while holding the same values. When something breaks, they do not discard the role. They repair what they can and continue. Returning to your role builds self-trust. It proves that your identity is not based on approval. It shows that your integrity holds through pressure over time. This creates deep internal stability. You no longer look outward to find your position. You carry it within. This mindset applies most when outcomes are uncertain. It is tested in failure, in loss, and in disappointment. When things go wrong, the Stoic returns to the same question. What can I still do? This question reorients the mind. It puts the focus back on your role. It narrows attention to what is active and available. Over time, this becomes a habit. You respond to setbacks with structure. You respond to chaos with clarity. Strength is not only revealed during times of success. It is shaped during resistance. It is built when circumstances fall apart and you continue. The Stoic does not view obstacles as interruptions. They see them as material for development. When expectations fail and plans collapse, the training begins. It is in these moments that clarity matters most. A strong character is tested when control is limited. The ability to act with direction while surrounded by disorder is where strength forms. Each time you choose to act in the face of difficulty, you reinforce a structure that cannot be shaken by outcomes. You practice moving forward without needing conditions to be ideal. This is not about force. It is about consistency. Reflection helps you understand what can be improved. Resetting helps you release what is no longer useful. Action moves you forward again. These three, act, reflect, reset, become the pattern that sustains you under pressure. This repetition turns responsibility into something more than an idea. It becomes part of your posture. It becomes a framework you rely on when momentum breaks down. You do not wait for outside direction. You do not need things to feel fair. You return to what you are meant to do. You remember the role. You remember the order you set. This is how you keep yourself intact when events become unstable. Returning to your role takes effort. It is often easier to retreat. The weight of responsibility feels heavier when progress slows. But this act, coming back to your role, is one of clarity. It proves to yourself that your purpose is not controlled by approval or reward. You do it because it is yours. You show up not to be seen, but to stay aligned. That consistency becomes its own reward. Courage is not only in dramatic actions. It is found in quiet returns. Each day you recommit to your standards. You build resilience. You learn to hold the line through fatigue, through loss, through uncertainty. The decision to stay in your role, especially when the mind looks for escape, is what separates temporary effort from lasting strength. Use the moment of setback to check your direction. Do not ask whether things are fair. Ask whether your response reflects who you want to be. Ask whether your action fits the role you've chosen. These questions lead you out of confusion. They bring you back to your task. They restore your focus on what is within reach. Let your steadiness become your reputation. When others shift with every emotion, be the one who holds firm. When others abandon effort, continue yours. Your presence becomes reliable. People notice consistency. They are drawn to it. They trust it. But the benefit is deeper than what others see. You begin to trust yourself. You see that you can rely on your own standards. This is how the Stoic remains unmoved, by making the decision every day to return to the role, to do the work, to carry the weight that belongs to them. This is how you rise, not through grand gestures, but through repeated commitment to what is yours to do. Quiet, clear, strong, one steady return at a time. Chapter 11. Build resilience through repetition. Resilience is not built in a single act of strength. It is formed through repeated exposure to challenge, recovery, and continued effort. The Stoic views resilience as a skill, not a trait. It is trained in the same way as discipline through consistent practice over time. Every time you face difficulty and choose to stay present, you add another layer to your resilience. Each decision to continue when it would be easier to stop strengthens the mental framework you rely on in harder moments. Small, Steady actions build the capacity to endure larger tests. Repetition creates familiarity. The more often you engage with challenges, the less power they have to overwhelm you. This does not mean difficulty becomes comfortable. It means it becomes manageable. You learn how to navigate pressure without losing clarity. You learn to work through obstacles without losing your posture. To train resilience, seek controlled challenges. Take on tasks that require effort and focus. Maintain consistency in them even when motivation is absent. Keep commitments to yourself and complete them as planned. Track your progress not just in results, but in how well you hold your standards under strain. Resilience also grows through reflection. After each test, review how you responded. Identify where you held steady and where you gave ground. Adjust your approach and return to the practice. Over time, this cycle builds confidence. You know from experience that you can recover, adapt, and move forward. This is the essence of Stoic resilience. Meeting each challenge with structure, responding with clarity, and returning again with the same commitment. It is built in the day-to-day decisions, in the repetition of steady action, and in the choice to rise each time you are tested. Chapter 12. Live the standard daily. The final step in becoming the best version of yourself is to make your standards a living part of every day. The Stoic does not treat discipline as a temporary phase. They integrate it into all situations, ordinary or difficult. This removes the need for constant decisions about whether to act. The standard decides for them. Living the standard means your values are visible in your behavior. It shows in how you work, how you speak, and how you respond under pressure. There is no separation between private effort and public action. You carry the same discipline when no one watches as when the world is observing. Begin by defining the principles you refuse to compromise. Identify the daily actions that express them. Build these into routines that fit your life. Then hold to them without exception. Consistency builds identity. Repetition turns choices into reflexes. The Stoic uses the present moment as the proving ground. They do not wait for ideal opportunities to demonstrate their values. Each interaction, each task, and each setback becomes a chance to live the standard over time. This forms a reputation first with yourself, then with others. Living the standard daily also means correcting course quickly. No one avoids all mistakes. The difference lies in how fast you return to alignment. The Stoic sees deviation as a signal, not a reason to quit. They adjust, reset, and continue without delay. This practice removes the gap between who you want to be and who you are. The more often you act in accordance with your values, the stronger your trust in yourself becomes. You no longer look for motivation. You rely on habit. You no longer hope for discipline. You live it. This is the final step to make your principles inseparable from your actions. When others leave, you remain. Skis arrive. You hold the line. You rise every day by living the standard without exception. This is the mark of a Stoic who has built themselves from the ground up, clear, deliberate, and unchanged.